Some call it funny money, but counterfeit cash is no laughing matter. If you were to unknowingly accept a worthless counterfeit bill, no one would reimburse you. And worse, if it was left to just circulate, fake money would undermine confidence in the actual money that we use. So it begs the question, could you spot a counterfeit banknote? If it's a no now, I promise it will be a yes later. Because in this video, with help from a counterfeit expert, we're going to take an in-depth look at counterfeit bills, covering everything from real-life examples and tactics to what you can do to protect yourself. So, let's talk money, fake money, and how not to get fooled. Before anything else, I need to make one thing absolutely clear. The likelihood of a euro counterfeit like this one ending up in your hands is actually very low. Basically, every year, the European Central Bank records the number and types of fake euro banknotes withdrawn from circulation. And last year, that number was 554,000.
Hang on, is that not quite a large amount?
Well, yeah, but it's just a tiny proportion of the 30.5 billion euro banknotes in circulation.
Right, so if it's so unlikely, then why the video?
Well, the chances are low, but they're not zero. Counterfeiters are out there, and they're out to fool you. Just as recently as 2024, Italian law enforcement dismantled one of the larger counterfeiting shops known at the time.
It was a little bit like in a Hollywood movie. It was a hidden wall behind a shelf in the garage, opening only by some secret electric mechanism. And behind that, there was a lineup of more than 24 printers, digital printers, producing counterfeits in large scale. I don't know what kind of shift, if they were running 24/7, I don't think, but they made a lot. And at the time, some 30% of all euro counterfeits seized anywhere across Europe were coming from that one single production site behind the hidden wall in the garage.
So while authorities do their thing to keep fake money at bay, I'd say it's time for you to clue yourself up on the signs of counterfeiting so that you're prepared should you ever come across a suspect banknote or suspicious behavior. So I thought, to better understand the tricks of the counterfeiting trade, let's first put ourselves in the shoes of the trickster. What are they trying to achieve? And how are they trying to fool you?
The counterfeiters are carefully evaluating how much they have to do. And they are, as we call it, they are brave enough for the gap. They are evaluating what is the minimum they have to do to get this counterfeit note passed. And they just need to get it passed once.
Nothing encapsulates this more than this 10 euro note. Now, this is a special type of counterfeit, more of what we would call an unlawful reproduction, meaning that this note right here does not comply with the ECB rules on reproducing euro banknotes. Because while it looks like the real deal on paper, it has no imitation of any security feature at all.
Looking at this 10 euro counterfeit in more detail, there's no watermark, no security thread, no foil feature, no nothing. It's just an image of the 10 euro note. And if you look, you can even see that it says movie money instead of the signature. And on top of all that, there's even a disclaimer, this is not legal tender, it is used for motion props.
But of course, these euro banknotes aren't always used for the big screen. Would you believe that that 10 euro bill was the top counterfeit type for a year and a half? Minimal effort, maximum effect, I guess. So, an extreme example that many might not know about outside the counterfeiting world, but it goes to show that quality of the imitation might not be the top priority for counterfeiters.
Good quality counterfeits are super rare. They account for 1 to 2% of all counterfeits, and counterfeits are rare anyway. And out of that relatively small number of counterfeits, only a very, very tiny fraction are well made. Well made doesn't mean they are undetectable. They can still be detected without extra equipment, even by a member of the public, but they need a bit more attention, and they may need a few moments more to identify them.
If quality isn't the top priority for counterfeiters, what is? A large part of how counterfeiters or distributors get fake money into circulation is about the art of distraction. They engineer a situation in which they pass the fake bill to you. And if you're sat there thinking, I wouldn't be fooled in such a situation, you're probably wrong. Because these fraudsters, they have all sorts of tricks up their sleeve. Just listen to this.
A while ago, we saw a very interesting CCTV video from a shop. There was a gentleman talking to the shop assistant. He had bought something, and it was not that thing like trying to buy a chewing gum and pay with the 200, because that makes you a suspect anyway. So he had bought something like 30, 40 euros value, and he paid with the 200. And he hands over the 200, and you see on the video surveillance that the shop assistant is obviously very well trained. So she's checking the banknote, looking at different security features, and say, hooray, wonderful, she's doing the right thing. And then chatting away, charming, obviously. He said, oh, if you're bothered taking that high denomination, I think I can pay you with lower denominations. Just give it back to me. And he produces a 10 and a 20, and he just gets close to it. Oh, no, sorry, it doesn't fit. I still have to give you the 200. Now, guess what? The second time he hands over the 200, it's not the same 200. Now he has swapped the genuine for a counterfeit.
See what I mean? It can happen to anyone. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that most would fall victim to this scenario, myself included. So imagine the fooler has managed to fool someone, but eventually they're caught. You might be wondering what lies ahead for them. What sort of penalty are we talking? Well, long story short, it depends.
The penalty depends on national law. It can differ between countries. What we can say as a harmonized approach across the European Union is that in each member state, the maximum penalty must not be less than 8 years. So in a case which is severe enough, you can end up with 8 years or more for producing large amounts and putting into circulation large amounts of counterfeits.
Quite the hefty price to pay, if you ask me. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Ring a bell? Well, I'm here to make sure you don't get fooled in the first place. And there's good news on that front. Unlike other forms of modern day fraud, when it comes to counterfeit cash, you could take matters into your own hands. Literally. I say this because you can physically check that the note in your hand is a genuine. But how exactly? What sort of thing should you be looking for? Step 1 in not being fooled. Know the genuine to recognize the counterfeit.
So if you have never spent even a minute on a genuine note to familiarize yourself with the properties and with the features and how it's supposed to look, you stand no chance of detecting a counterfeit, that's clear.
And that's exactly what we're going to do.
So here I have a 20 euro banknote, and I think you'll agree that it's quite pretty to look at, and not just for its value. Now I could list a number of security features included in this and other euro banknotes, but for the purpose of this video, we're going to focus on the main ones using the feel, look, tilt method. Starting with the feel features, one of which is the paper itself. The paper has a firm feel and a particular sound. This is a sound of real money. Try it for yourself. You won't find ordinary commercial paper that sounds like this. Other things to feel. There's these lines along the margins, which are primarily there to help the blind and partially sighted to distinguish the banknote. But if you're not blind or partially sighted, you can just as well run your fingers over them to feel the tactile lines and even hear the sound that they make. Now the look. In short, there's a lot to look at. Hold the banknote up to the light and you will see the watermark and security thread. As with the 20 and higher, you have a window in the top right hand corner of the note where you can actually look through the banknote and see the portrait of Europa. There's also a watermark portrait of Europa on the opposite side. Then there's the tilt features. First, there are the holographic stripes. We have all sorts of rainbow and moving effects here. And then back on the right hand side of the notes, it flips between the number 20 and the euro symbol. Then look at the emerald number, which is shiny and metallic. As you tilt the note, you will see a light bar, a rolling bar as we call it, which is virtually moving up and down. And if you go one step further and tilt it so that the note is at a flat angle, it will change its colour from green to dark blue. There's no counterfeit at this moment which can get anywhere near all of these features.
And now you're in a position where you've followed these steps, but you're still not convinced. What now?
If that doubt still persists, you should refuse it. You should ask for another bill. Because in the end, if you accept it, and if you find yourself in the possession of a counterfeit, nobody will reimburse you. The damage is on your side. And you have every right in the world to protect yourself against suffering a damage.
Step 2. Stay vigilant. Now you know the quick and easy method. Use it. And I don't just mean for suspect banknotes. Get into the habit of checking all your banknotes. It takes a matter of seconds to make sure that you're on the safe side, that what you're about to accept is a genuine banknote. Honestly, it's not rocket science, we all know that. And it could save you a lot of time and money in the long run. But what happens if it's too late and you find a counterfeit note snuggled in your wallet? Don't panic. As we saw before, it can happen to anyone. What you need to do is take the note to the police and, if possible, tell them where you got it. They'll take the note and send it to one of their national analysis centres. If it turns out to be a genuine, then you'll suffer no loss. You'll be reimbursed. If it turns out to be a counterfeit, then you will suffer a loss, but you won't have gotten yourself into additional trouble. I'll just pass it on then. Well, this is a really bad idea, and it could land you in a serious amount of trouble.
Don't come with that idea of, okay, I'll pass it on silently to somebody else. As soon as you have at least reason to believe it might be a counterfeit, this is a criminal act.
If you knowingly pass a dodgy bill on, it can get you into trouble that's worth way more than face value, as we've seen. So, don't risk it. Now you know the signs to look out for and the steps to take to protect yourself. In other words, how not to get fooled. You can of course find more information on the European Central Bank website and via the links in the description. But for now, why don't you open your wallet and test your newfound knowledge? Remember, feel, look, tilt, and of course, like, comment, subscribe. Ciao for now.